Hello, everyone. So let's take a look at this. This is actually me when I was 9 years old performing at the Shanghai Oriental Art Center in front of 100, 200, 300 guests. It was the height of my short but intense piano career, and this was just 3 years after I first touched a keyboard. Even after earning my final certificate, piano has remained a significant part of my life. Yet, after all these incredible achievements and all these efforts, I've somehow transformed from a brave risk taker into a professional risk avoider, maybe even the best liar to myself. Let me explain. I've always liked to think of myself as bold, curious, and full of courage. But it seems like I've become someone who is too afraid to face herself. And that little risk taker hasn't really been me since my 10th birthday, which I realized is only recently. Over the years, I've got plenty of chances to perform on stage, big and small, including school assemblies, house events, and even just informal gatherings. Last semester, I was invited to play a small Tom and Jerry opening theme during our 10th grade assembly, which, interestingly, was the last assembly of the year. But then it hit me. Could I really do it? Could I pull it off? Or was I still good enough? After a long, cold sweat, the answer seems to be clear. Of course not. What if I missed a note and the whole piece collapsed like a row of dominoes? Be rational, Zoe. You haven't performed in years. Can you really handle the responsibility if it goes wrong? And honestly, do you even have time to practice as a 10th grader? As that morning, the assembly went perfectly fine without me. I'll admit that I did felt a moment of relief staying out of the spotlight. However, after the last performance, I checked my watch. There was 1 minute left before dismissal, and that was exactly the length of that Tom and Jerry piece. At that moment, I realized something had been lost, something quietly traded away for comfort. Avoiding risk has a cost. Back then, I didn't have a name for what I was feeling, but psychologists do. They call it the cognitive dissonance. It is the mental discomfort when you're holding two conflicting thoughts at once, or two conflicting ideas about yourself, like believing you're a brave risk taker while avoiding risk out of fear. So, to reduce that discomfort, we often tend to avoid anything that contradicts what we want to believe about ourselves. So, as you can see, avoiding risk might protect us from mistakes, but deep inside, we all intuitively know that avoiding failure in itself is a kind of failure. We lose more than we realize: confidence, curiosity, and even maybe our sense of who we are. So, what if I decided to just take one step out of my comfort zone, just a little, and what if I decided to be a little bit more honest with myself? At the end of last semester, I was given the chance to do exactly that. A chance to visit a country with arguably the best desserts in the world, France, to go to Paris, also known as the capital of romance. So our team was invited to take part in a synthetic biology competition, and our team captain set a bold goal to win a top 10 prize among all high school teams. He actually competed back in 2024, which is exactly the reason why he was so determined to aim high this time. But as we all know, real life rarely matches with our ideal plans. The team was much larger than expected and spread out across different parts of Shanghai. Coordination was a nightmare. Some members couldn't even come to lab early, and others just disappeared during the entire experiment phase. Under all that pressure, our captain finally made a difficult choice. He decided to give up the chance to Paris. He told us that he'd already proved his ability the year before, and keep staying with this team wasn't really worth the effort, especially when the outcome seems to be a little bit uncertain. Now I really hope that my captain does not have the habit of watching TED Talks, because this part might sound a little too real. But I did learn something about myself, something important about myself from his decision. When I heard that, I could see my own reflection, my own image on him, so though you sat in the audience, hesitating but taking the center stage. But that was exactly the moment when I realized that if I want to grow, I must take my step out of that comfort zone. So the question then became, how could I pursue such a goal without the same confidence or same expertise as before? My earlier confidence was fading, and I told myself, maybe you should focus more on school exam and schoolwork that seems to take higher priority. You've learned enough from this project, don't you? And isn't that enough for your current courses? But then I had to ask myself, is it enough? Yes, I believe it was enough, but was I satisfied? Was I willing to stop right before the finish line? Absolutely not. Daring to face our true abilities is also a form of courage. And to take risk does not always mean to take one giant leap forward, but sometimes we only need to take some small baby steps. So in the end, although only 4 out of 20 teammates really come to Paris, but I started to think differently. If 4 of us work together, why should our ability be seen as less than that of one person? And I am deeply grateful that I made this decision. After letting go all the pressures to achieve a top 10 result, I could finally be fully engaged into the subject of biology itself. I've learned so much along the way. By engineering bacteria, we can repair structures, control wildfires, and even contribute to cancer treatment in ways that once seemed to be impossible. And in the end, the result was much better than expected. 1 medal and 3 nominations. In all of this, I have learned that risks come with rewards. They're the gift reserved for the brave. Now I stand on this stage because I am still learning how to overcome that fear. Maybe speaking here is way harder than speaking in front of my classmates, but now I can finally say to my younger self, with not just words alone, but with actions, yes, I am risking more than you did, and yes, I can face far more than 300 guests. Thank you very much.